All right, everyone, welcome back to the Be Fit podcast. I'm your host, Connor Murphy, joined here with the lovely Allyson Leard. Everyone, welcome Allie. So I wanted to bring Allie on the show. We have a lot of history together. I met her in 2013, beginning of 2013, just as an athlete at CrossFit New England. And then stayed training, friends, and then in 2016, I remember you were a nanny for Ben and Heather Bergeron, and you wanted to get into coaching.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, to Austin, hey, Allie's awesome. Like, Green is a coach, but like that's what Austin and Denise do. They're able to like help and develop coaches. And then also I was like, in the event that we all want to go team, she would be an awesome person to have.
Wink, wink.
So comes into Reebok. We end up training together, working together, carpooling together, competed in the CrossFit Games together in 2017, finishing 5th place. Fittest team in the East Coast.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, through that entire journey, Allie has gone through some really incredible things when it comes from competition to being a mom of one, and then from being a mom of one to being a mom of two, and then working her way back into the competitive side, the training side, and all of these incredible things. So I'm very, very grateful that she came onto the show and excited to talk more about it. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So you competed. When did you start doing CrossFit?
Right after college, because I played college soccer, and then I found CrossFit New England because it was literally right down the road. And so that was 2011. Yeah, 2011.
And you played, where did you play soccer at?
LaSalle College in Newton.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of the competitive edge from people who were athletes in a different sport that come into CrossFit rather than the traditional, which is, hey, I just want to get a little bit fitter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of it's the story, right? Like, you're a competitive athlete your whole life, and then you need something to fill that void afterwards, and you find CrossFit, and then you're like, ta-da, this is it.
But 2011, how old were you in 2011?
24, 3.
So that's still relatively young for someone who is like in shape in a traditional definition of doing a sport. So then you found CrossFit, and then when did you want to start competing, or was it immediate? Like, hey, I want to
right away.
I want to smash these bitches.
Yeah. I want to smash these skills. Yeah, that's basically what it was.
And when was your first time? So obviously you do the Open, which is a worldwide online competition. At the time, there were 5 workouts. One would come out every week.
Right.
You'd watch someone do the workout. There were all these standards that you had to do. If you wanted to be competitive, you had to film it. There were all these different things that had to happen. And they would take the top like 0.001% that would go to regionals and then on to the CrossFit Games. So what was your first year doing the Open?
So it was, actually it was that year because I joined the winter of my senior year. So that would have been right after my soccer season had ended. So like January. And then when was it? February, March?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was fresh in there. So I didn't do well, I don't think. I mean, I was good, but like I didn't do well.
So from a soccer player, I would imagine the cardiorespiratory endurance and running stuff, you're like, yep, check.
Yes.
Good to go here.
Yeah.
What was something that surprised you coming in as an athlete that was like, wait, how is everyone doing this?
Yeah. Just seeing, older people that were older than me, like being stronger, basically. I was like, how have you done this? Or how are you beating me?
Yeah. I remember a workout in St. Thomas where Brian McCoy, who you know, it was his first workout, and Dave Haddow is 63 years old and is like dusting him in this workout. And Brian went so hard during the workout that he finished, it was like 3-round workout. He finished 2 rounds trying to beat Dave and then had to like sit down and like drink water. He thought he was going to like die or be nauseous. I'm like, oh, well, dang it. Like that's the last time this guy's going to come in, and then came back for more.
No, because you realize, that you're going to die and that you need to be beating these people.
I think there's like 2 minds. That's like the fight or flight where an athlete comes in, where a lot of people will be like, yep, this isn't for me. And the other side of it is like, nope, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to come back and beat this 63-year-old man in this workout.
And I'm sorry, if you're that other person, I don't know, I just don't understand. Everyone should have that feeling of, man, there must be something wrong with me, right? Like, if you can't do that. But people are like, just write it off. They're like, no, I'm content with this. I'm out.
Yeah. And I think we've spoken about this before when talking about people going into jiu-jitsu. It's like you can be, and it's like kind of almost like a segue of like athletes that go into jiu-jitsu or CrossFit people that go into it. And it's like day one, you're getting your ass kicked by people who are like, I remember getting armbarred by like a 13-year-old girl when I first went in, and I was like, I could see why people were like, nope, don't want to look bad.
Yeah,
and I think that's the whole thing is like people are so afraid to look bad or get beat.
Right.
And then people from other disciplines, bodybuilders, powerlifters, who are incredible in their respective sport,
right, they
don't want to get beat. They don't want to look bad because if they're this athlete or fitness professional and then they get beat in this workout, then they're like, oh, it's, now I'm not official. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what that, I guess that's maybe an ego thing.
I think it's exactly an ego thing. So 2012 would have, or no, 2011.
2011 was my first year, yeah.
And then, so 2013 was your first year competing at regionals.
Right, yep.
And you competed for CrossFit New England.
CrossFit New England.
And how did that go?
It went great. We won regionals, I think, every year, except for 2015. Up till that point, I think that we were second or third. I can't even remember now.
But still qualifying for the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. Yep.
So then your first year competing at the Games was 2015.
Right. Yep.
So although qualifying, 15 was your first year competing in that.
Yes.
Tell me about that experience, about 2015.
Oh my God. Amazing. But also feel like looking back on it, I think because I was in the space, or I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if you feel like this too. I don't know, or did feel like this when you first went. I feel like I undervalued it a little bit. When I look back, I wish I had, I don't know, like sunk it in more, like was like, wow, this is really amazing that I'm here. And it's a big deal. I think, I don't know, maybe back then it wasn't as mainstream as it's become now, CrossFit in general, or the CrossFit Games. Obviously more people know about it, whatever. Not even that was that long ago, but I think even back then in 2015, in those times, a lot of like my friends, people like that didn't know about it really, or what you were doing. But now people really do. And maybe that was just me, I don't know, undervaluing it a little bit. But it was really good, but I wish I had, I guess, taken more time to be like, I worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
This is cool.
And even in the competitive side on that note, when you're like, I worked really hard to get here, people have no idea how fit you have to be to not even qualify for regionals.
Yeah.
And even there are people that are in affiliates, even people that are interested in competing, they're like, oh, I want to compete someday. And a lot of times the first thing I ask them is like, well, are you willing to dedicate your whole life to never making it?
Yeah.
Because if so, then I would say go for it.
Yeah.
But if not, I mean, now especially.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I think because other people didn't know what it was maybe at the time as much, I was like, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But then I look back on how much work it took, and I know how much work it took. And yes, people don't realize it's underappreciated because the normal person will never understand the amount of training, time, your whole life that you dedicate and have to, they just don't get it because they've never probably dedicated themselves to something like that before.
Yeah, I mean, especially a physical task.
Yes.
Like people, they're like, oh, so you have to work out a lot.
Yeah, they're like,
And I think about it, and this is like a good transition. I want to get back to like the competitive stuff.
Yeah.
We'll save some of the stories from 2017 for a little bit later because I feel like we've got some good stuff on that. But like we knew every gram of macronutrient that was going into our body for years.
Yeah.
And not like, hey, I'm eating healthy. And then you're like, well, what does that consist of? It's like, no, I can show you on a log every single thing that I've eaten to hit the numbers that optimize my performance. And it's not something that is, oh, here's the optimized performance. It is evolving in so many different ways and different things that can be modulated to optimize your performance. Do I eat more carbohydrates? Do I eat more fats? Do I eat more protein? Well, how is it? Everything is measured. And when there's that much precision that goes into it, there has to be that much dedication to match it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, hey, I see Allie at the gym working out. She looks good. She's doing chest bar pull-ups, like, good for you. They don't see the sleep schedule. They don't see everything else, which now, going back into more dedicated training and more probably from a competitive atmosphere is what you're going down now. It's still, now you have 2 children and you have businesses you're running and you have clients that you have. So it's like there's still a lot on the plate. But what was it like going from 2017 competing to then becoming a mother and then getting back to it? Let's go down the child avenue.
I was, after we were done, I was like, I'm out. I'm never competing again. Because what we just talked about, the amount of work and stress and emotions and all of it that go through it is so draining. Hence why when athletes are done the season, they take so much time off, right? Because you're just fried. But I was really set on just becoming a mother and just settling down sort of situation, and obviously continuing, fitness, but not to that level. But anyways, I just realized how much how much I love training. That's the thing that people, I think, that are dedicated to anything that's going to take up a lot of, I don't know, it's kind of selfish in a way, I guess. I hate to put it that way, but it kind of is. You have to be, and because you have to put in that much work, right? So I just realized how much I love training, or the craft of it, right? Or they always say it's the end of it, the competition, whatever you're in, the show, the game. It doesn't even have to be anything fitness related, but whatever your end result is just sort of the prize. But I mean, everyday stuff is something you have to really enjoy doing, or you're not going to stick with it.
It's just enjoying the journey.
Exactly. I think you do have to. But even with that being said, though, it's not every day I want to work out.
No, not fucking at all.
Yes.
But it is selfish in the sense of I have to prioritize myself and my own needs.
Right.
But I mean, we just spoke about this before we started recording. It's how many people don't prioritize themselves and that are on our sickness, wellness, fitness continuum that have all of these markers at sick, and they can't be as good of a parent, as good of a daughter, as good of a wife, as good of a, all of these things, because they don't have that even physical capacity or capability to be there for their, husbands, children's, parents. Right. And so, maybe you could consider it selfish, and someone from the outside looking in can be selfish person. But I mean, how much has that helped you with, not even just the physical aspect, but the between the ears stuff.
Oh yeah.
And having 2 kids that you have to take care of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big thing. That's why, one of the reasons why starting Mom Session, or get passionate about continuing helping people with fitness, which I didn't think I was going to do after either, kind of stop coaching too. But just how much it helps you, like what you said, emotionally, mentally, through postpartum and pregnancy, basically.
So you said Mom Session. What's that?
The Mom Session is basically a program I started after I had my second baby, to help pregnant women and postpartum women come back to fitness or continue fitness in a safe manner, basically. There's a lot of things that happen during pregnancy and postpartum with our bodies, and basically wanted to give people a way to continue fitness without having symptoms and or injuries, if you want to call it, from pregnancy, and feel good working out still.
And I would imagine this came up organically from someone who has competed at a high level, you start to get a following of people who are like, oh, I'm interested in watching this person's journey. But I'd imagine you had a lot of people that reached out to you that probably sparked this interest, being like, hey, how are you doing this? I'm really struggling. And you're like, shit, I was really struggling. Maybe I can continue to help people. Is that how it started? I mean, were people reaching out to you? Are people still reaching out to you about that stuff?
Well, yes, that was part of it. But another part of it was after my so rewind real quick. When I got pregnant, or after competing, I was like, I'm going to get pregnant and I'm going to have a fit pregnancy and I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be still doing everything I'm doing and working out every day. And because that was kind of what the world tells you that you're going to be able to do. And that wasn't the case for me. And it was huge shock and very disappointing. During both my pregnancies, I was huge. Remember? I was like...
Yeah. I remember, Allie. It looked like, and this is a term of endearment.
Yeah, and this isn't, I don't.
It looked like you had 9 children in there. I have a picture still on my phone that maybe we can put back into this of you rowing.
Oh sure. Oh yeah.
And it wasn't like this person weighs 400 pounds, but it was like, Allie looks fit, but there's like 3 medicine balls in her stomach.
No, I mean, there's a picture which we will definitely not. Actually, you know what? We could even bring it up. I would love to do that. Let's just put it all out there. I look like fat bastard. I'm not even kidding you. It's hilarious. Jeff took it of me. And I've showed it to all my girlfriends and everyone's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. Do you want to see this? And then I show them and they're like, die. Because it's literally, I don't even mean to, it's pretty bad.
Really quick, Fat Bastard is a character on the movie Austin Powers.
Oh my God, if you don't know that.
So a lot of people don't. Okay. So we're getting old, Allie. This is what happens. Yeah. So people would be like Fat Bastard, that makes no sense. It's a character. We can pull it. We'll put a side by side.
Yes, side by side. We need that.
Of Mike Myers, who plays all these characters in the movie Austin Powers. If you haven't seen it, in the second one, a character, Fat Bastard, is what Allie's referencing. Go on.
Anyways, what we were saying, yeah. So I was like 200 pounds every pregnancy, basically. I had 10-pound babies each, okay? Huge. I felt awful each pregnancy. Working out was really hard. It was not what I thought it was going to be, which I was going to be strong and healthy and crushing it.
Doing handstand push-ups, 8 months pregnant,
exactly.
And muscle-ups.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so that was the first disappointment. And then afterwards, my body did not feel well afterwards. So I had, I almost felt like, and I can talk about any of this. Right? It almost felt like a UTI. So I was like 4 months postpartum. I started getting back into it slowly, which I did not even do anything crazy, first of all. Just regular like body weight stuff. I started having this feeling like a UTI, like I had to pee, but I didn't. Went to my OB. They were like, oh yeah, you probably have like a UTI. Didn't check, didn't do anything. I had what did they give you? What's the word?
Antibiotics?
Yeah. Antibiotics, didn't do anything because I didn't have a UTI. Long story short, I had C-section. So when the scar tissue builds up, your bladder is right behind that scar and the tissue can grab onto your bladder and it like pulls at it almost and make you feel like you have to pee. So that was just like one of like many different like ailments that I had. But just as an example, like all these weird things started happening to me. It was just making it really hard to come back. And I'm like, if I'm experiencing this, what are other people experiencing that did not go to the CrossFit Games, that weren't the fittest of the fit at one point in their lives? And I want, like, other people must be experiencing this. It can't just be me. And so lo and behold, I wanted to start this program to help people basically stay fit and healthy. And there's ways to do that with engagement of your core and your pelvic floor and breath work and all this, and ease your way back in appropriate manner to accomplish all of this, basically. And nobody tells you about any of this. So that's how it started, really, in short.
So after the scar tissue is grabbing onto your bladder, is there is there steps that you had to take to like fix that? And that's what you wanted. What was that process like?
So I ended up, like I said, my OB was no help. So this is the thing. OBs suck basically in the United States, and not all of them, I shouldn't say that, but they don't give you these tools. So after you're pregnant, actually before you're pregnant, you should go to a pelvic floor PT and get checked out. So you have a baseline of like where you're at down there. And then, so once you get pregnant, things start changing. And then afterwards, you'll see where if things changed, maybe they didn't, maybe you're fine, whatever. But most of the time, things are going to get a little crazy down there.
I can imagine.
So yeah. So anyways, had to find a pelvic floor PT. I had a lot of like scar tissue work done, which helps like break it up, just like normal. The thing is that's crazy about all this is people don't realize your pelvic floor or whatever, if you got a C-section or not, that's all muscles. That's things that need to be worked on just like any other part of your body. And you need to fix that shit before you go back to fitness, or you're probably going to have some problems. And the amount of people, like I didn't think, if you don't have any problems, that's like amazing. I think the norm is that people do have a lot of problems, but nobody's normalized it. They're starting to normalize it. It's becoming like more of a thing, which is great because people are talking about it. But before it wasn't. Wasn't like no one wanted to talk about it, you know? But now it's becoming more known and help is more available. You know, people like me, pelvic floor PTs, all of that's becoming more available. It's more popular. But bottom line is, if you are, whether you're in fitness or not, you need to be taking care of all of that, because later is when it's really going to mess you up. You're going to be, your pelvic floor, I've talked to so many PTs who, most of the reason why people can't walk later in life is because their pelvic floor. Like old people, like, do you want to be in a walker? That's what it's from. Or in a diaper, peeing your pants. And men too. Men don't realize it either, but it's important.
I've peed my pants before.
I'm sure you have.
I don't know if it was from pelvic floor.
From incontinence. Maybe.
You never know.
You got to go get checked.
That's, you know what? I'm on my way.
You know what? Actually, we should do a follow-up. You should go get checked. My PT does men.
Okay. I'll get checked.
I'll get checked. I'll get rechecked. We should do like a flop. I'll go in first. You get an internal exam. I'm not really sure what your internal exam consists of.
Terrifying to think about which way they're going in.
Hey, and I mean this in the most appropriate way ever, is it feels good.
Okay.
It's a muscles, like a massage.
Okay. I think we have.
Are we cutting that out?
No. We're keeping that in. I think we have different entry points.
Yeah.
In which I'm not entirely sure what that'll look like. However, I think he's going to be like, "Oh, did you drink a lot before you peed your pants?" And it would be like, "Yeah, excessively." And they're like, oh, "Okay, that might be the first box to check."
Actually, I am really interested to know more about the male pelvic floor and what that consists of.
We're going to have to do a follow-up episode.
I think we are.
And it's going to be on the male pelvic floor.
Yes.
Because we've all got them.
Yep. It's true. And you know what? Brings me to another point. It's not even just women with babies. It's people who haven't had, it's young girls, athletes. I mean, we know women peeing at the bottom of a squat.
Yeah.
Like Lauren Fisher, right? That was a huge thing when she pissed her pants all over the floor at, what was that?
ECC.
Yeah, the ECC. Here in Boston.
That's just the way you worded it is so great.
What?
Yeah, she pissed her pants all over the floor.
Pissed her pants. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But
it was like at the bottom of a clean, right? It was like a clean and jerk ladder.
She
like
didn't
a clean
have
or
any
something.
babies. And she was young. She was like, she still was young, but she was maybe 20 or something. Mm-hmm. And why is that happening to her already? I have a client who is older now, but she was like, I've always had bladder problems even before I had kids. And her doctor was like, oh, you just have like a weak bladder. I have a weak bladder. I'm not supposed to be pissing my pants. Nobody should be pissing their pants ever.
Babies, maybe.
Except if you're a baby. Yes, babies are fine.
I want to cut that into like our headline of this.
Yeah.
Then there was that CrossFit video I remember. where it was actually referencing it because there were girls in competition in box jump workouts and double unders and this type of stuff. And it's like, and there were people that are like, yeah, it's like a normal thing, exercise induced, urination. However, you're saying there's things that you can do to like work on that, like preventative things.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. You say normal. Oh, this is normal. I had a baby. This is normal. I lift really heavy. No, it's not normal ever, even if there's a fire. Wait, what movie's that from?
Step Brothers.
Yeah, yes.
I'm not calling him dad. Nope.
Nope.
Even if there's a fire.
There's a fire. That reminds me of. That's what I always think of. I'm like, it's never normal, ever, ever.
And I guess it's similar too when people reach a certain age and they're like, all right, well, it's time to go on statins because your blood pressure is high.
Right.
It's a normal thing. It's like, no, we've normalized it because enough people have done it. That doesn't mean it's the right way.
Right.
The food pyramid says that breads and pastas need to be the base of your, of your nutritional guideline or of your nutritional input. You're like, well, that was normalized and bad things happened from it. So let's either unnormalize them or figure out a way to make it better for improvement, as opposed to just saying, oh, if someone can't walk anymore or someone has this, oh, yep, that's it.
That's it.
If there's nothing I can do to try to start working back in the right direction, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And you can be very postpartum or have had problems for a long time and reverse it. Like it's not like it can't be fixed, because people will be like, well, when you say postpartum, people think like you're postpartum like a year or something or a couple months or whatever it is. And what they say is postpartum is forever, because it is forever. But it doesn't matter how far along you are. You could have kids when your kids could be 20 and you could still be having these issues, which people are having these issues. And it just gets worse with age. And that's the thing why you got to catch it. But all it takes is strength work. So that's huge. Single leg work. All of that stuff is connected. So like your pelvic floor is like a bowl, so if you want to think of it like that. And then all the muscles come up and connect. And so you want strong glutes, because that's your powerhouse right there. And you want strong legs. And a lot of women like to do things like running and spinning, and that's great, but that's not going to make you strong, right? As we know.
Yeah. I mean, from a standpoint is, if you are completely sedentary and you can't get off the couch, sure, you'll gain some strength in moving it, but at some point in time, there's muscle activation, and what you're saying is specific muscle activation that can actually get someone there. Yeah, and
and as we get older, so I keep talking about that, and I know I'm not old, and people are like, you're not old, but once you hit a certain point, once women and men, I think once you were like 30, then things start like deteriorating, and weight training is the best thing for older people to be doing. I mean, yes, it's important to have cardiovascular health, right? We all need that as well. But people are just so focused on that because they're like, I don't want to be fat, or I don't want to gain weight. You're gonna lose fat lifting weights.
Yeah.
Let's do that,
And gain, it's, I think from a capacity standpoint, I think EC recently had a post that said like the number one thing you can do to combat aging is weight training.
Yeah.
Is like strengthen your body. And it makes sense, right? We talk about it in CrossFit as far as a work capacity.
Right.
A person who is really, really strong at 50 years old and continues to do weight training, even if it's not, even if they're not making PRs or personal records and squatting more than they ever have,
right,
the quality of their life and longevity of their life is going to be better because of the strength that they have.
Right.
Whereas someone who may just be a traditional like runner, and they can be an incredible runner, and that's great.
Yes.
But at some point in time, you still have to sit down and stand up from the toilet. You still have to get up in and out of bed.
Right.
And the stronger you are in those positions, sure, maybe I can't do 50 unbroken GHG sit-ups anymore.
Right.
But like, and my grandma can't do that either. But if she at one point in time had the capacity, or my mom who had the capacity of doing those, I'm not worried about her getting out of bed.
Exactly. And those are the things that matter down the line, like peeing your pants.
Yeah. If you don't want to pee your pants, let's keep that strength training up.
That's right. That's the bottom line here. That's the story. So we talk about strength training, but also the other big thing that we kind of talk about is engagement of your core. So doing that properly. And I know even just from coaching CrossFit, how many people don't really know how to engage their core properly, right? Like,
yeah,
it's amazing. And if you're not, that's the other thing. If you're not doing it correctly, then like you're really missing out on almost like the exercise, right?
Entirely.
So we talk more about how to do that properly. And it's a lot through also breath work. So we talk about pressure. So our body here is like a canister, you want to think of it. And everything needs to be nice and even when we breathe so that we're not having pressure in either down into our pelvic floor or it can go out into our bellies when we're pregnant or postpartum, because that allows things to just be weaker. And so talking about how to basically make sure that's not happening as well when we work out, obviously that would make sense because when we're working out, we're breathing hard, right? So we're not really in control of that, but that's a huge piece of becoming in control of that, so that you can make sure that you're not causing injury as well there. So there's lots of different components and it sounds pretty complicated. And people, I know even for me, when I started doing PT and doing that kind of strength work of focusing on my breath and engagement and when to do it. And it's overwhelming and there's a lot to think about, but it's like kind of the boring work that you have to do to get where you want to be.
Yeah, it's, people fall into the novice curse.
Right.
Like, oh, I can do a crunch, so I should be able to do all of this stuff.
Exactly.
There's a lot more that goes into mastering the fundamentals. It sounds like there's a series of fundamentals.
Yes, there's a series of fundamentals. That's exactly what it is. And my class that I coach and just in general in my sessions, depending where you're at in your fitness journey and coming back, but I wanted to make it fun. So there is high intensity functional movement that I like to. It's CrossFit. We'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
Because I freaking love it, and I'm just pretend that we don't do it because people are like, oh, I don't want to do CrossFit. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh man, that was great. I'm like, yeah, I know. And but we add in my class, so we'll do that because you should enjoy your fitness as well, and you can enjoy your fitness without having to worry about all those things. But you need to add in that kind of boring work. So we add that into the class, and that's kind of how I trick people.
Hey, I'm on the, I get
Trickery.
it 100%. Oh yeah. People be like, hey, I don't want to do, I've had clients in both ends. Yeah. I don't really want to do cardio today. I just want to do some lifting stuff. They're like, oh yeah, okay, I got you. And then you essentially trick them at the end. They're like, that was better than I thought. Yeah. Or people are like, I don't want to lift any weights. You're like, no,
God, no,
definitely not going to lift some weights. Like just kettlebells. You're like, well, kettlebell's weight. Yeah. It's an external object that now you're moving. You are weightlifting. Yeah. If it is 1 pound or it's 70 pounds.
Yes.
Or in terms of poods, if it's 0 poods or 2 poods, like it's weight.
Yes.
And then when they get to the point where like, oh, this feels relatively light. It's like, okay, well let's try this then. And there's like that. People seem to think they know what to do when they come to a trainer. And not everyone. No. When they come to a trainer. And which is interesting to me. They're like, hey, I want your help, but I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. And I just want, and like a lot of times I'm like, okay, yeah, how's that working out for you? Oh, not so good. Okay, well let's try. Maybe let's sprinkle in some of what you're paying me for.
Yeah. Let's just try something different a little bit, That's actually, now that you say that, that's so funny. Oh no, I lost my train of thought. You were talking about people like knowing what's good for them, but now I'm
coming into a trainer and being like, oh yeah, like we're going to get fit, but here's how we're going to do it. Like,
okay, so why am I here?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Not train me.
All right, the workout on there and rock and roll.
Oh God, yeah, that's always good.
But you're doing some outside of just the pelvic floor work and outside of the mom sesh, you're doing some private training as well.
Yes, yep. So I don't just do that, but I just do regular private training for women, and I'm all about that strength training life. I think that's what people are really missing. That's just what I found when I start to just, you get that first session with somebody and you start kind of testing out where people are at, right? And even people that have been working out a lot or they do consistently move, which is great. And you're like, but you can't I don't know, you can barely, and obviously this chair is kind of low, but maybe even at just like a box height, 20 inches, let's say, and they can't get up with one leg, I mean, you're missing something there.
Or even two legs.
Even two
without
legs,
like the assistance
without the
of,
assistance.
I gotta like hold onto this and press myself out of this thing.
Right. But and you're like, maybe that's what's missing. Maybe there's some things there that you need to, or you can't squat, below pair. I mean, it's all of this stuff. It just amazes me because I've been out of it for a little bit, I think. And now that I've been in it within like the past year again, and just seeing all these different levels of fitness, and just the strength thing is huge. The cardiovascular thing people have definitely got down, because what people think is if they're not dying out of breath too, that's the other misconception, that they didn't get a good workout in. That's the other thing. That's not always true. Right.
We saw that with the 2:00 boot camp class that we ran at Reebok.
Oh, yeah.
So we started this class at 2:00 that was like, hey, we're going to do a boot camp class, because people were like, I'm not going to do CrossFit. Yeah, great. And it was for the people that were like, if I'm not, dead sweating at the end of a workout, I'm not getting a good one in. Or how many times you hear that as a trainer, like, oh, I just want to get a sweat in today. Yeah. You're like, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I actually had planned. So let's do that. So we ran this 2:00 boot camp class, and it ended up expanding to this giant group of people because they're like, oh, we're going to do the boot camp. It was CrossFit, but it just didn't incorporate as many technical movements. Yeah. We would try to add in like maybe one movement that we actually had to teach and coach during it. So it wasn't just, here's your workout, go do it. I mean, there's movement mechanics that need to be refined during a workout, especially when they have consistency and a warm-up of doing it well. The consistency of those mechanics need to be checked up on, and they need to be corrected. We saw it today when Hurley was working out and we did a workout together. It's like, as you started getting tired, you felt it was like, for our deadlifts, it's like your back starts to round in that. And so having a coach that's there to correct you, it's like those are the pivotal moments of when we do that. But in this boot camp class, we tried to simplify it. I'm making this story way too long. And essentially it was a gateway in for people doing CrossFit. Because at some point in time, Allie Holmesy, who is one of my favorite people to train, it's like she could only row at 900 calories an hour. And there are other people who are beating her off the rower, and she'd be like angry at it.
Right.
Like, well, why can't I be, I can pull it 900 calories an hour for 2 hours, but she couldn't pull over 1,000 if her life depended on it. And this is just a generalization. I'm not like, sorry, Allie. And it's like, well, because you don't have the strength, you don't have that power, and you don't have the strength to do that.
Right.
So if we can manipulate or modulate this training a little bit, or target it for you, and maybe we get a little more strength training in, a little less reps, a little bit more weight, maybe we can improve that side of it. And it was such a cool way for everyone who's like, I just want to sweat, to then see people that were going from this into like the heavy days with the CrossFit classes. Like, well, this is what I need because I need to get stronger.
Exactly. Right. And that's where the variance piece comes in, as we know.
Well, it's funny because when I speak about a lot of this stuff, and I speak about objective training, like why would you do a workout where you don't know, how much it weighs, how many times you move it, and how long did it take you to do that? Yeah. It's like when you do that, then you can make fitness objective. And when I talk about this stuff, I have to take that step back because we were so into this niche of this world at the time of competitive CrossFit and even just CrossFit training that there's a lot of people that don't know or understand this stuff. Mm-hmm. People's minds are blown when you're like, oh, wow, like standardizing a range of motion isn't just because everyone can't do it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be the standard, right? You can work on different stuff, right? But that's the way you can test and retest and have something where it's like, hey, here's your set workout. Like, oh, well, I was kind of squatting low on this one, but then I squatted low on this one. It's like, no, like standardize it and make that that the rule.
Right, right. I have a quick question as we talk about just movement.
Yeah.
So now that I'm kind of into this personal training world that I wasn't really in before, and more of like a range, right? Not just specifically CrossFit, I guess we'll say. What do you think about the movements that are hybrid movements?
Like what?
Like, I don't know, like you add in, people are doing like, okay, this is silly, but because I don't know if this is silly, but they're doing like a press and then a side press and then a press up here and then a press out here and then all in one movement. What's your thoughts on that?
When we talk about defining characteristics of functionality, it's the ability to express high power.
Yeah.
It's the ability to move large loads, long distances quickly. There's descriptive characteristics, which are, they're quarter extremity movement expressions. They are natural. They are safe. They are, they're compound yet irreducible. There's all of these things that maximize, the results that we want.
Right.
Now, when there's certain ways that our bodies weren't intended to move. So like a natural movement wouldn't necessarily be holding a weight out here.
Right.
If it were, then this is how everyone would carry their groceries.
Exactly.
But it's not, because it's very inefficient. It is moving a load away from your frontal plane. Is there some benefit of accessory movement? Maybe. Mm-hmm. But even when we talk about the simplicity of a leg extension, when you're sitting down on the machine and you're extending your leg, you're like, yeah, I can feel my quads burning.
Right.
There's something that's going on here. But as an accessory movement, what people aren't really understanding too is that you're moving your knee in the way that it's not necessarily intended to. Sure, it's made to extend and flex, but what are the muscles in charge of doing that? Right. Where is the groove of your patellar tendon sitting when you're doing that? And there's these things that are wrong with it,
right,
which makes them then less safe.
Right.
So like, can you do them if there's like a certain result you want,
right,
if there's a body physique thing?
That's what I think it is,
like,
right? The body physique thing. That's really what the purpose of them. Because I'm just like, I see all these other trainers and I'm like, oh, like I'm very functional and they're not. And I'm like, so what is that doing?
Yeah. I think people want to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
People like new, people like flashy.
Yeah.
I think if I can see someone who can do a single rep of squat therapy against the wall, arms up over their head without overextending their spine, going through a full range of motion, standing up, it's like, yeah, if you want to, do some extra, wobbly doos and stuff, like you go for it. But outside of that, like what's more important? You're like, oh, I really want the anterior delt to pop when I wear this dress for my wedding. It's like, well, cool. But like, do you want to be able to pick your children up when you're 50?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, maybe there's room for it, but I think the basis of a training program is exactly what you're doing, is exactly what we've always done.
Right.
And think about how many clients in mass, in a general, have followed that guidelines under, I mean, not just us. I say us as like a whole of our unit that when we were working at Reebok. But how many people improve the quality of their lives by not doing the other stuff, by just doing that? Oh
my God, I know. And that's, I guess, it's like, oh, it could be so simple if you just let it be simple.
Mm-hmm. It is, but people want the sexy stuff.
Right.
It's the same thing as like, oh, for the pelvic floor work,
yes,
I'm going to do ball bounces.
Yeah.
And you're like, I mean, there may be something, you take an iso ball and, pump it over to your friend. It's like, okay, there could be something there.
Maybe.
However, where you're going to be much better set is by mastering the fundamentals and mastering the basics of these movements.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I hate that. And people are like, oh, well, this really, it's like, okay, like great if it works for you.
Right. And that's the other thing. If you're moving your body, great.
Yeah.
Like,
but call it what it is.
Yes. Right. I think, so.
Don't tell me, don't be like, this thing is like, it's super functional for this.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a little bit of a stretch. Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah.
That's not what your shoulder muscles are used for. Should you have a capacity in it? Yeah. Should you have a capacity to be able to move a load in a rounded back position?
Right.
For sure.
Yes. But if you do the basics, you'll be able to probably do that.
Yeah.
If you need to.
And why I think it's so important coming from someone like you is because I can talk about it until I'm blue in the face, and it may fall upon deaf ears, kind of what we were talking about earlier. However, when people see someone like you with an aesthetic that they want, being a beautiful woman, I can say that because her husband's my best friend, so
thanks,
that's okay.
Connor, that's nice.
But hearing it from you is different than someone hearing it from me. Just saying, hey, here's what I'm doing for training and here's what I can help you with. People will see that and be like, this person inspires me. You were able to inspire people outside of the realm that I will ever be able to. And it's cool in the fact that you weren't just like, well, now I'm going to be a mom. Now you're going to be, which is the most difficult thing. Hurley and I were talking about this the other day. I was like, I had 4 straight days with Ty, and it wasn't like I was like taking her to daycare, doing other stuff, but it wasn't like I was like trying to tap out, but I was like, man,
this is hard.
This is exhausting.
It is. It really is. Well, even when I don't have Jeff around or something. I'm like, how do single parents do it? It's so hard. Like if you don't have someone there to help you, it's freaking hard.
Even just for an hour, someone coming over and being like, hey, you can just go lay down face down for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Right. That's the energizing that I need.
It's so true. Oh my God. It's so tough. Parenting is harder than I ever thought it would be. It's worth it, but it's hard.
And I think it's hearing that from you and hearing that you're still training. And then we can even get it back into like your own training about like competing again and being, fitter than you since that 2017 and since the pregnancies, like getting back to a fitter version. Will you ever get back to how fit you were in 2017? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Will I ever get back to as fit as I was? Probably not.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's so much further to fall off.
Yeah.
And so it's inspiring. Even when Rachel or Jeff and I were talking about like you like training and competing and you see it online, it's like, man, it's so fucking awesome to see and inspiring.
Well, I think too, like, cause people have been like, it's really hard. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's really hard. Like, I mean, I do definitely know. They're like, it's really competitive now. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. And why not? Like, not even like, oh, well, what else am I going to do? It's just like I said, really enjoy training and I want to do something hard. And if I make it, great. And if I don't, that's okay. But like I pushed myself again. I do something that I enjoy doing and getting as fit as I possibly can that I'm able to with, having kids, the time restraint, trying to do all the things that I can't do as like a professional athlete, which we used to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just what am I able to accomplish, I guess, with what I have.
Yeah. And I think that's it's cool and inspiring. And that's what's kind of like the main bit of why I was so happy you wanted to come on here and talk about that.
Yeah.
Because people can see that now and we still got some time left.
Yeah.
But I just would like, if you want to like reach out to Allie about any questions and that stuff, we'll have all the social media stuff and all of that around. But when we talk about, you're like, I don't have all the time allotted for essentially being a professional athlete, which is what we had. Yet it's hilarious because even in those moments, I would wake up and the only thing, I'd be like stressed. I had 2 emails in a day. I'm like, man, I got to go over to the main building.
I got to get some work done.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do today. But I would wake up and be like, the last thing that I want to do this morning is to go to team training. The last thing I wanted to do. And it wasn't that I didn't love every person on my team and that we weren't like an awesome group, but it was just like, it was exhausting. And then there's some days where who knows like what or why, but you'd be like, oh, I'm really excited for this work. Probably when it's a workout that you would, yeah. And there's a difference between being good at a workout and being better than the other people who are doing the workout. Like someone could look at me and be like, oh, Connor, you're great at deadlifting. And I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Fucking hate it.
I'm going to blow my back out on this thing. It's the worst thing. Why? Because I had to deadlift with Austin, who also deadlifted 600 pounds and then ran a marathon, like fresh off of a plane.
I love that guy. He's crazy.
He's the best. But I mean, even like the competitive side of it and team training, there's so many just like good memories and stories. And it's almost like that quote from The Office. And it's like, what I wish I could do is like how I wish I could know when you're in the glory days, like when you're in it, rather than like being able to look back on it.
Oh yeah, I know. Same. There was that time, I know, like just our dynamic, people don't realize. There was also a video that because it came up on my memory feed and I sent it to Rachel and we were practicing at the time. It was a heavy dumbbell squat clean. I think it was either
squat snatch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I posted, you saw it, right? It was either 53 or 70. It was something heavy. And I remember like we're discussing it, like, did you hook grip? Oh God, I'm scared, like, God, my arm's going to fall off. And then you got you and like Connor Nugent off to the side doing whatever piece of training you were doing. You're like, come on, don't be a little pussy. I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
It was like, yeah, I remember because like I listened to it and when you turn the volume up, it's like, it's like you guys being your little mini emotional supportive, which was like, it's okay if you don't want to. And then like,
you don't have to do it.
Just lift it. And then you would, and then everyone would be like, yeah, awesome. But even just those small things like, oh, this is a person who knows how to do everything. all of a sudden dumbbell snatches get and they didn't even say what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, there's going to be a dumbbell snatch.
Right.
And then Austin's like, we're practicing this until
Till
we're all dead.
Off.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun. That was really fun. We trained so much. I remember like too, by the end of the day, if we had any time while there wasn't people from like Reebok in the gym, we were just took a nap like on the outside on the Dollar mats, like
just lay on the
quick
turf.
5 minutes. I just got to close my eyes.
I remember one time where we were waiting for Kate in our training session. So in the CrossFit Games in 2017 was the last year they had 6-person teams, which was, I think, very interesting because I think you can get 4 really fit people together and do really well. However, to get 6 really fit people together, you had to work as a unit and you had to work as a group, which we kind of learned along the way, especially when we went with Bill Anthes when we did the between the ears training.
That was great.
We did like an overnight, all night type training. We had no idea what to expect, but we worked with a guy who was helping us work more as a unit. And it was something that I think Spencer was always good at it because Spencer didn't want to hurt to train. Like he didn't want to be that miserable. Granted, he was incredibly fit, but Austin always he wanted to go as hard as he could go. But if 5 other people weren't that fit, he was actually going to ruin the workout for all of us. We would all then struggle with the workout because he wanted to go so fast. And I remember we were carrying this gurney with like 450-pound medicine balls on it, just like an insurmountable task where it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And we're yelling at each other, and then we start to get, and it's like, well, you guys' feet are hitting, so we start to get the cadence right.
Yeah.
And then we start to get, well, if Connor's grip is the weakest on this side, then we can only go for 20 seconds. So we'll call the cadence, we'll lift for 20 seconds, and then we'll rest. Mm-hmm. And even though Austin wasn't as exhausted, we were able to move so much faster doing that. Right. I think a lot of teams, I also remember there was one, we were testing a workout. It was the thruster burpee workout.
Yeah.
And I remember we were, doing the burpee over, and everyone had to do a burpee, and then everyone had to jump over the worm and then face down. And we couldn't jump up until everyone was on the side. And I remember Austin at one point in time was snapping at you.
Oh yeah, that was a rough day.
He's like, Allie, let's go. As if you weren't trying your hardest. Allie, let's go. And again, Austin learned from that. It was his first time going team.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I remember we all got to one side and he's like, Allie, get over here. I remember I turned to Austin. I was like, Austin, shut the fuck up. Just screamed. Yes. And I've never been able to speak to him like that.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, he was kind of quiet, and we finished the workout. If it was a bad workout, we wouldn't speak to each other for 25 minutes afterwards. Yeah. Well, you and Rachel would be like, oh, you did such a good job in this one.
High five.
I'd be outside smashing a PVC pipe over a tree. Austin would be
Austin's
chewing a full pack of gum, answering emails on his phone.
Yeah. Whenever I pick up my phone after a workout, I always I think of Austin. I'm being Austin right now. Right after.
He'd be responding to emails. I'd still be doing the workout. I'm sitting on a stack of plates.
Can you cheer for me? Yeah. No, but that day, that was a rough, I got yelled at a lot. I was really bad at, actually, I am so much fitter. Burpees over anything now are one of my best movements. See, you can get better and be old.
Well, also when you work on those certain things.
Yeah. But I remember, I was the weak link, right? And that was not good right there. But then we figured it out,
We all had our weak links.
Yeah, of course.
In the traditional training, Austin just didn't have them as much.
Right.
But I sure as shit remember that CrossFit Games workout, the opening workout, the run, swim, run.
That was hell.
Our worst mistake was pairing you and Rachel together.
Yeah, that was the worst mistake there.
Okay, so how are you feeling? Okay, well, I'm okay. Meanwhile,
should we slow down?
Meanwhile,
we're going too fast.
I'm dragging Austin. He's throwing up out of his eyes because swimming wasn't his most proficient movement.
And then Hinshaw's like, drag it.
But Austin's looking at me. It's no. But we started to get, and I remember in the hay bale workout, it was a workout where the girls were a team of 3 and the guys were a team of 3. And you had to carry a guy. So 2 guys were carrying, 1 guy was laying down on a gurney, which was a great exercise for me on the first round, just laying down on a gurney. And then they had to do burpees over a hay bale, and then you'd have to switch, but you couldn't switch until both teams were complete. And I remember you guys kept getting no reps from getting up too soon or whatever it was. And so you had some reps to finish before we were able to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
And the judge didn't have his hand up yet, which meant that that's how many reps we had left.
Right.
And I remember Austin was going to go over there to be like, let's go. And I'm like, it wasn't a matter of like, it was like the matter of like getting the reps down.
Right.
So we stayed, I was like, we're going to stay like 2 different sets, like 40 yards away from them until the hand goes up in the air, and then we'll go so we can finish at the same time.
Right.
So that they're not sitting there. We get into those like group arguments again.
Oh yeah. That workout was really tough. I remember that one. Actually, we had 3. Oh, and then what about the workout where I completely lost my grip? The obstacle course.
Oh yeah.
That sucked really bad. Actually, that was probably the most upsetting. That wasn't even because I had gone through it and practiced fine.
And then it rained.
And everybody, and it wasn't just me. A lot of other people struggled with it, but I think it was because we were out in the cold so long. It was freezing. And for some people, their grip just like, their forearms just like went.
We made the rookie mistake too of not, everyone else like got chalk in their pockets to be able to grip. And we were just like,
because we had, it's unfortunate because actually I really think we would have been top 3 for sure if we hadn't made like a couple mistakes.
Yeah.
Like these stupid mistakes. But I think the other thing, we went in there and we were not really expecting much. And then we realized after the second workout, we're like, wow, we're fucking fit.
Yeah.
We're going to crush these bitches.
Especially when we should have been higher placed, but I had decided to crash a barbell into every single fucking pillar.
Oh yeah, you did. Why was that? Oh yeah.
Nothing to do with fitness. Nothing to do with fitness. We're doing muscle ups and squat snatches, and we're the first team to advance. Yep. We had to roll these stubby bars, and it had to go like over a little mat that we had to have up there because Austin couldn't reach the rings. And on the very first one, I'm going on like barbell hits the side of the rig and I like spin it around. And I did it like 3 more times. And it cost us probably 30 seconds on the workout, which is the difference between, I think, the 12th place we finished in and the 2nd place where we would have been. You're just like, you have so many of those.
But we actually did crush that workout though. Everybody did. Even regardless of those things, you did and us girls did too, that was really fun. But I think that's when we realized like we were competitive and we needed to like go. That was really fun though.
Oh man, some of those like the worm workouts where it was like no one wanted to pick up the bag.
Oh God, yeah.
And yet we were just doing like the power. There's that picture of us doing the power clean, and it looks like both your and I heads are chopped off because we're just trying so hard to get that thing up there. Our
face is just full on. There was also, this is a regional, and regionals was really fun. The one we went to before, that was more fun because there was practice before, obviously, and stressful. But I also remember we were in the locker room or something, and you and Spencer were like in these boxes. What was that part? You were like hidden, and you like pop out. You're like, hey guys, watch this. And you were like I don't know, you were in a box. Do you remember that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. It was a locker room, whatever, because we were in a stadium, right?
Yeah.
A stadium? Yeah. We come into this locker room and you're like, where are you guys? And you're in fucking a box. And you like popped right out. You're just
like hiding to scare you guys.
Yeah, we're just like fucking around. But that was like little things I remember. That was funny. That was fun.
Broke my neck at regionals.
Yes, that too. Yeah, that was bad. Didn't really know until later either.
Well, the chiropractor's like, oh yeah, you're good. You just need an adjustment. I was like, I think something's pretty out of whack. He's like, okay, no, I'm not going to adjust you. I'm just going to give you a little.
I'm just going to break your neck again. That was rough.
Yeah, medical malpractice, whatever. But I mean, the competitive side thing, it can be fun. Kind of the whole like story, I love obviously reminiscing, but there was more to it than, hey, there's just a bunch of motivated, fit people. Like we all struggled with motivation. We all struggled with different days, having better days, worse days.
Yeah.
And going from that to, and where I'm at too is obviously significantly less of body stresses than you went through in pregnancy, but even just dipping from that fitness. And there's definitely times when I'm not motivated to train.
Yeah.
And with the business and the work we're in now, there's just this assumption that like, oh, it just wants to train all the time. And oftentimes it's not the case, but there's still motivation to be had. And there's still a chance to get to not only your fittest, but just so much more capacity than there is falling off.
Well, I think too, with just saying that, that's another thing that in this, I feel like is a big thing right now, like in the social media world is like the motivation thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not about motivation. It's just about consistency. We've been doing it for so long, but that's the other thing that's like, so it's annoying to, I think, people like us, because people are like, well, it's just easy for you. Well, it's not easy for me. Like, yes, I've been doing it way longer than you and I put in like the work, but I mean, it's still difficult. Every day you have to like make yourself do it. Like, yes, some days you want to train, but there's days that, like what you said, just like any other normal human being, you don't want to do it. And you have to do it. You just make yourself do it. Just like you have to brush your teeth. You have to wipe your ass. You have to not pee in your pants. Same
Do you think
thing.
there's people who don't actually want to wipe their butt?
Probably.
That was me as a kid.
Yeah, no, definitely kids. Because I'm like, I'm like, Finley, did you wipe your butt? I don't know. It could be a 50-50 there.
There were times I remember I would always have like skid marks on my underwear.
Yeah,
'Cause I wanted to go back out and play.
Yeah, exactly.
So I poop and I just tuck my waddy tidies in there and we're ready to rock.
Exactly. No, I think that's exactly what it is. People just FOMO, so they can't.
I want to get back out there.
I got to get back out there. I can't.
But you're right. I think that right now motivation's getting this like bad rap. And it's all about like discipline. You have like the Jocko Willings and the David Goggins guys who are incredible. But it's like, it's the discipline and it's the consistency. But there's also a motivation piece.
Oh, right. No, I know.
And Corey Gregory talked about this, and it's like, how do you like inspire someone? It's like, it's really hard to inspire. You can be inspiring for someone,
Right.
but to like really inspire someone to want something, what you need to do is take someone who is, let's say, 35% body fat, and you need to find in them their utter disdain to look like that. And then that can be their motivation to be disciplined. Mm-hmm. To say, hey, I don't want to work out today, but I don't want to work out today worse than I want to be 35% body fat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that, and again, this was just something I've been,
Thinking about.
Thinking about a lot about. And there is a motivation factor. What is it? Do you want to be inspiring for your kids?
Right.
The guy who came on here, Slade, who lost 100 pounds in a year of doing CrossFit.
Right.
And it was because he was like playing on the floor with his son, and he was like rocking to like struggle to get back up.
Yeah.
And his son equated like dad to beers. It was like when dad would get home, it'd be like, oh, dad drinks beers.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And sure, there's fucking days that he woke up and he was like, oh, I really don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But not as much as he doesn't want to leave his child out there because he can't physically do a task.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I know, because I think moms feel guilty about, or anybody feels guilty about taking that time to go to the gym or train or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, you know what? Because I'm being like, oh, mommy's going to the gym, like again. I'm like, I'm not, what am I saying there? I'm like, I'm going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be like, oh, mommy's at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, and that I rather them remember me about doing that than being like, mommy's going to go have a martini.
Yeah. And we like joke about that, but like, that's the reality.
That's reality. Yeah. But that's exactly what people do.
It's almost the rule rather than the exception.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying, like you think about that kind of stuff, how do you because we're constantly trying to help people. So we're trying to think of how do we motivate them or inspire them, or how do we get through in some sort of way? And yeah, it's constantly trying to think of that kind of stuff to help people, because you know that they can do it too. When you see, you're like, I really want to help you, but you also have to help yourself.
I think one of the biggest traps for trainers, and it's something that I would love to say that I used to do, but I still do it. And it's one of the worst things that a trainer can do is want results for their clients more than their client does.
Oh yeah.
Because then it becomes, then the client starts to get this like feeling of guilt if they don't do something.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I don't want to go back now. I have clients that have reached out about training, and then I follow up about when, and then they don't respond because they don't want me to see them in the spot that they're in.
Yeah.
It's like, I was gone for St. Thomas for 6 months, and now I moved back here, and people are reaching out to train, but there's always these like, oh, but I haven't done anything in a long time, and so like, don't try to kill me. I'm like, well, I've yet to kill anyone.
Yes.
So
not in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that manner, in a training world, but I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
And I get that maybe this workout, we're just going to walk on incline on the treadmill and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But you're going to feel better, and we're going to get into a better spot from that.
Right. And that's the one thing too that I think I learned from working with so many moms, because it's like, oh, well, I didn't get to it today, or I had a really tough week, or I was really tired, or the baby didn't sleep. And it's like, I'm always super like, and not even because I understand too now more than anything. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I'm always like, who cares? Like, that's great. You know what? We'll start again. Like, you can always start again. That's what I always tell myself too. I don't know about you too. It's like when you feel like you've fallen off somewhere, whether it's with nutrition or your fitness schedule or something. And I just like, I always remind myself that, like, always just pick up, just go. You know?
That was yesterday for me. Like getting back into like doing movements.
Yeah.
I am, and it sounds so like ridiculous me saying it, and other people will be like, but like I'm the least fit now that I've probably been in a decade.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people will be like, oh, this is not. I'm like, but for me inside, I mean, I had to scale Cindy yesterday. I did 3 pull-ups, 6 push-ups, and then I ended up riding the air bike because the only thing I could be doing that I have been doing is squats.
Right.
And I ended up cutting it shorter than I originally was planning on because I started to like feel, I'm like, man, I have the fatigue in my arm because I had surgery.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was hard. And then today, I'm so, and I always try to line myself up, and maybe this is a motivation thing. Maybe you can use it for yourself, your clients, or I mean, anyone who's listening to this. But Hurley came into the gym today, and we had talked about it yesterday. We were going to train at 9:30 before we came in here. And I did some rowing intervals early, but was saving that workout. And part of me was like, I wonder if he's going to sleep in or if like something happened. And as soon as he walked in, it wasn't like I didn't want to do the workout.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, I didn't want to do that workout today. But he walked in, it's like, well, we said we were going to do it. And then afterwards you're like, I couldn't imagine the guilt I'd be putting on myself if I didn't do it. I would have just been like, you're a piece of shit.
Yes.
Like you're lazy. You talk about discipline, but you don't hold up with yourself. And there's times that you catch yourself slipping in these different areas. And it's like, that's a normal thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I think we get, older, and like we said, other priorities come in and out, and of training becomes harder. It's not as like accessible, I guess. And those kinds of things happen. But I think it's good to learn how to reset yourself almost. I don't know. And then maybe that's being like wiser and smarter.
Yeah.
Young instead of young and dumb. I don't know.
And there's definitely times when I get locked in, and there's times where it's like on the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I might go back to the gym and train later. I might, after
double session.
And there's been times when I'm like with Ty and, Rachel will go to the store.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to get my workout in.
Yeah.
And then after I put her to bed, it's like I felt good from the workout. I'm just going to do Tabata squats.
Yeah.
And then like this last weekend when we were together, I like didn't make time for it. And then she went to bed a little bit later. And I was like, I could do something if I wanted to. And I was like, I just didn't really feel it. So like there's times to get dialed in. And it's like, use that. Like don't be like, oh, I don't want to go too far. Like use that motivation, use that momentum.
Yes, exactly. Like sometimes my husband and I, like Jeff won't be super busy or I won't be super busy, and I can fit in like a 2-3 hour session, like at the gym with like my young fitness friends. And like, I get that. But then I don't know, there could be a week where I only get to do like a half hour of like EMOM work and one strength thing, and that's it. Like, and then, so exactly when you got to like take advantage of it when you're feeling it or when you can, it's like, I don't know, you have to improvise, and people don't like doing that because it's like an all or nothing mentality, but you can't have that.
As a friend of mine says, improvise, adapt, and overcome. That friend is Jeff.
Yes. Or you can have Jeff, just tell you to stop being a little pussy. Like I do. I'm like, okay. Sure.
You know what? I think there's still a place for that.
I do too. I like it. No, I need that 100%.
When everyone's like, oh, like don't be too hard on yourself, or there's not, Chris Irwin was talking about this at the when he was speaking for like the men's mental health. And it's this whole like suffer in silence thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, everyone's like, it was a really big thing. And then everyone's like, oh, don't, for men's mental health, all this stuff. And he's like, no, especially for like some of the physical stuff, it's like, there's something to it. Like just get the work done.
Right.
Don't complain about it. Just work and go hard.
Yes.
And there's been times where I've had to reach out to people and I'm like, don't want to work out, semi-workout, whatever it is, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, here it is. Like, do it right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
doesn't matter who they are to me, but
Yeah.
just even someone just to be
Yeah.
like, hey, just fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, oh, yeah.
You got to toughen up. I think some of my best coaches have been, I don't know, and I've always been like this, even, so it could also be a personality thing. And some people obviously gravitate to certain, what's that called? Help me out here.
What are you talking about? Just like a certain character or personality?
Yeah, maybe a personality or like a motivation. I guess motivation.
Yeah.
Certain motivates them. Anyways, I just like somebody who kind of is like, no bullshit, like fucking do it. Stop being a baby. Like, because
that's also a great thing about Austin too.
Yes.
We referenced this in like one way, but then another way where he did it so often where there would be times when I'd walk into the gym and he'd have my barbell set up for the workout we were going to do together. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that right now. And then he wouldn't say a word, and I'd go into the back and I wouldn't even get to the office. I'd set my bags down, and then he'd start the timer, and I'd just grab the bar, and I'd go.
I'm in it, yeah.
But also because he was doing it.
Yeah.
Because he has that mental fortitude to fucking show up every day and do what he's, it's like there's a big place for that too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's days that he doesn't want to train, but it's probably few and far between with like something for like me.
Well, it goes back to accountability, I think too, like we all need that accountability. So no matter how like elite we've been or like even you, even me need somebody to be accountable to or need a coach, like that's the other thing when people like complain about like, I don't know, like, and I get it, like sometimes money is a factor and that's fine, but everybody needs a coach, a nutrition coach, like I've been doing this for 12 years, and I have somebody helping me with nutrition. Why? Do I know what to do? And I was having this conversation with him. I was like, I know what to do, but I don't know what to do. He's from like The Office. I know exactly what to do, but at the same time, I have no idea. Like, seriously. And I'm like, why am I like this? He's like, everybody needs help. Everybody needs someone to like push them in the right direction. No matter how, why do you think elite professional athletes have a zillion coaches? Because they need them.
Yeah. I think the accountability is a big piece that I'm kind of like missing into the equation, right? I talked about consistency. We talked about motivation. We talked about discipline.
Yeah.
But the accountability of Hurley showing up to the gym today made me accountable.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have gone as hard or two, even done the workout because I had already trained.
Yeah.
And
you already decided you didn't want to do the workout.
But that's like the team training side of it.
Yeah.
We'd made the commitment to each other, and that's where gym memberships come in.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I want a $9.99 membership to Planet Fitness. You're like, do you know why the price is there? So you won't fucking go.
Exactly.
Because if everyone who had a gym membership to a Planet Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, all of these gym chains, all of them, they would fall flat on their face because the model is not, I'm trying to get people fit, is I want as many people to sign up and I want to have the price as low as I possibly can for them to renew their membership, or high enough to renew their membership, but low enough where they don't go.
Yeah. Smart.
And I remember the 24-Hour Fitness in San Diego, they told me like a staggering statistic of how many people were members. There were people who were still paying memberships that didn't even live in San Diego anymore.
Oh my God, yeah.
Thousands and thousands of members.
It's crazy.
But if the people that were paying for their services utilize their services, the traditional fitness industry would fall flat on its face.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes paying that extra money is paying for that coach to show up, is paying for that accountability buddy.
It is. It really is. And it doesn't matter who you are. I think you need it, and I think it's worth it. Like, I don't know, when people say it's like, oh, that's how much money it is. I'm like, yeah, that's how much money it is. I've also been doing this for 12 years. Do you think it took me a long time to know what I know? I worked really hard. And so, now you have to pay for that.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to the store and get a 18 pack of beer, or you can pay a little bit more for the, whatever it is. It's like the price is the price.
Yeah,
the amount of money that people are like, I can't afford this.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me look at your finances. And then people are like, maybe I can afford it. Like, how much did you spend on that one drink last night?
Yes, exactly.
But I think you're onto a lot of really incredible things in a demographic that we both work in, and a demographic that I don't reach, and I just don't know much on. Yeah. And I think and I hope that when people listen to this, they'll want to reach out to you for either advice, your services, and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How does someone find you on Instagram?
So the Mom Session That's
spell it out.
Instagram.
Well, I guess no, we'll put it on there at the mom session.
I'm like, how do we spell that?
Mom.
The mom session, direct message me. Also, I like do my phone number. I'm like, 50. No. I don't know. Yeah, we'll put the mom session on. That's fine. Direct message me. That's so easy.
And then what's your personal handle?
Oh, my personal handle. What is it?
Allie. Is your middle name has started with an M?
Yes, Allie M. Leard.
I was going to introduce you as Allie M. Leard, and I was like, I don't know what her middle name is.
Yeah, it's Marie. That's my middle name, but it's Allie M. Leard.
Yes,
is that what it is?
At ALLYMLEARD.
Yeah, or there too, and yeah, it's all whatever kind of fitness, really. But yeah, I do love. I have a passion for helping the moms, like what we were just talking about. I think the average person is very, and I don't even mean, not that we're not average people, but we were once, I like to think we were elite at one point, which was very nice. And it's, the people think there's this huge like disconnect or difference, and there really isn't. And it's wanting to kind of like also talk more normalizing the help that everybody needs. Yeah. And especially, like I said, with my mamas and wanting to just help them be successful and not have pain with fitness afterwards, and therefore write it off or think it's not important or because they can't do it anymore. And that's just not the case. So,
wow, Allie, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on here.
It was fun, and we will do a follow-up after Connor gets his internal pelvic floor exam.
Fuck it, I'll do it.
Hey, I'll do it too. I should. I need a refresh.
Yeah, I know why you want to go back.
Feels good.
You guys can always follow us at Big Night Fitness on Instagram and then YouTube, and then my personal handle at Connor T. Murphy. As always, if you have questions, if you have comments, put them in the YouTube comments. Reach out to me directly. I will always get back to you. I don't know exactly when I will get back to you, but I will always respond and get back to any of those messages that we receive, and the same goes for Allie. All right, guys. Until next time. See you later.